I left my job, my apartment, and my entire life in Chicago for a man I thought was my future. 3 years later, I found out he had another apartment, 20 minutes from ours, with another woman's toothbrush sitting in the bathroom. This is my story. My name is Hannah, and I need to tell you exactly how this happened because, honestly, I still don't fully understand how I missed it. I met Daniel in 2021 at a conference. He was charming, confident, the kind of man who remembered tiny details about your life and brought them up weeks later, like proof he'd been listening the whole time. He made me feel seen. Back then, I was a marketing director, 6 years deep into a career I'd built with my own 2 hands. I loved that job, but I loved him more, or at least, that's what I told myself. 6 months in, Daniel got an incredible opportunity in Austin. He took my hand across the dinner table and said, "Hannah, I can't do this without you." He wasn't asking me to follow him. He was asking me to choose him. So I did. I quit my job. I said goodbye to my team, my city, my mother's Sunday dinners. I told myself this was what real love required. Sacrifice. Faith. Leaping without a parachute because someone promised they'd catch you. That first year in Austin felt good. Almost perfect. Daniel worked long hours at his firm, often traveling for client meetings. I picked up freelance work, slowly rebuilding the career I'd walked away from. I told myself it was temporary. I told myself he was worth it, but there were moments, small ones. The kind you brush off because the alternative is too frightening to sit with. His phone, always face down. Always. Weekend business trips he could never quite explain in detail. A hotel receipt, 40 minutes away, from a weekend he swore he'd spent working from home. I asked him about it once, gently, careful not to sound accusing. He just laughed. "Babe, you're being paranoid." And because I'd given up everything for this man, I wanted desperately to believe him. So I did. Looking back, I think some part of me already knew, but knowing and accepting are 2 very different things. And I wasn't ready to accept that I'd burned my whole life down for a lie. By year 2, the excuses got bigger. A second business venture that needed him in Houston 3-4 days at a time. I'd asked to come along. There was always a reason I couldn't. "It's boring, just meetings." "You'd hate it, trust me." "Next time, I promise." There was never a next time. So during those long, empty weeks, I started rebuilding myself instead. Late nights, new clients, proposals stacked on the kitchen table. The version of me that existed before Daniel, before Austin, before I became a woman who waited by the door for a man who was never fully home, even standing right in front of me. It was my friend Carla, calling from Chicago, who finally said the thing I'd refused to say to myself. I mentioned Daniel's latest trip, and she went quiet a beat too long. "Hannah," she said slowly, "doesn't that feel off to you?" I wanted to defend him. I always did. But that night, something cracked open. A question I'd buried for 2 years finally surfaced. What is he actually doing when he isn't with me? I didn't go looking right away. I was terrified of what I'd find. Because if I was right, it meant I hadn't just lost a relationship. I'd lost my career, my city, my independence for nothing. 3 months later, everything changed in a single afternoon. Daniel left for another Houston trip on a Thursday. That evening, my laptop charger died, so I went searching through his side of the office closet for his. That's when I found the folder. Tucked behind old tax documents, hotel stays, restaurant charges, a spa weekend booked for 2. Dates stretching back over a year. My hands were shaking, my mind refusing to connect bits that were screaming at me. Then I found the lease. An apartment in Houston. Signed 8 months ago. Daniel's name, and another name I'd never heard before. Melissa. I don't remember deciding to drive there. I just remember the 4 hours happening around me, like I was watching myself from somewhere outside my own body. My hands gripped the wheel. My chest caved in a little more with every mile marker. Maybe it's a mistake, I kept thinking. Some quiet, devastated part of me already knew it wasn't. I sat outside that apartment complex for 2 hours, watching the door like it might hand me a different answer than the one I already had. At 7:43 p.m., Daniel walked up. He wasn't alone. A woman opened the door before he even knocked, Familiar, comfortable, like this was a routine they'd run 100 times before. She kissed him. He smiled, that same easy smile he'd given me across a dinner table 3 years earlier, and they disappeared inside together. I sat there a long time after that door closed. Not crying, not yet. Just empty, replaying every excuse, every trip, every time I defended him to my own friends, my own family, my own gut. I had given up everything for a man who built an entire second life while I rebuilt scraps of the one I'd thrown away for him. 20 minutes later, I knocked on that door myself. Melissa opened it, confused, until she saw my face, and then Daniel's, behind her, going pale. I didn't scream. I didn't cry in front of either of them. I just asked, "She doesn't know about me, does she?" Melissa's silence said everything Daniel never would. Left that night and never went back to our apartment. Not even for my things. The aftermath was its own war. Lawyers, a lease dispute, the slow, humiliating job of explaining to everyone back home why I was suddenly homeless in a city I'd moved to for him. Daniel called, texted, even started blowing up Carla's phone trying to reach me. I blocked every version of him I could find. It took 8 months to rebuild financially. It took longer to rebuild the part of me that ignored every warning sign, because admitting the truth felt scarier than living the lie. Here's what I learned, and what I hope you take with you. Never hand over your entire identity to someone who hasn't proven they deserve it. Love should add to your life. It should never require you to disappear from your own. And if your gut keeps whispering that something's wrong, you are probably not being paranoid. You're being right. If this story hit close to home, I want you to know you are not alone, and you will rebuild, stronger than before. If you felt every second of this, hit that subscribe button right now, because we tell real stories just like Hannah's every single week. Drop a like if you made it to the end, and tell me in the comments, what would you do if you found that folder? And turn on notifications, because you do not want to miss what we post next.